Good morning. My name is Adam Briskin Limehouse. My pronouns are he and him, and I am the officiant today. WES is one community unified across time and space, gathering for these Sunday platforms to affirm our values and commit to a better world. So I want to welcome those of you who are here in the hall, those who are watching now on Zoom, and those who are catching the recording later. If you are on Zoom, please check the chat for a welcome and various tips from Joe Klein, today's Zoom chat usher. If you're here in the hall and would like an assistive listening device, please ask the sound team at the back. Closer, so apparently the people couldn't hear me. A special welcome to our visitors today. We'd love to get to know you and answer any questions you have. To get on our email list, you can fill out the connection form at tiny.cc/wesconnects or send an email to wes@ethicalsociety.org. And if you're here in person, we invite you to stop by the welcome table after platform or just talk to anyone with one of these white name badges. I'll now check the Zoom chat to see who's attending remotely this morning. We only have one, and that is Nibla saying hello and thank you for the captions. Give people just another second to see if we get any more. Not right now. All right, it is good to connect and to share this time together. Opening words this morning are from Marsha P. Johnson, who helped lead the Stonewall riot. No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. Today's opening song is Be a Pain by Alistair Mock. So huge thanks to the WES Chorus and Band for that. We're on brand today, is what I'm saying. Each week, we read our statement of purpose as a reminder of our shared values. If you are interested in taking a turn to read the statement of purpose, you can sign up at tiny.cc/read-SOP. You can read it here in person or make a recording that will be included in a future platform. Today's reader is Laura Briskin-Limehouse, who leads the WES Writers Group.
The Washington Ethical Society is a humanistic congregation that affirms the worth of every person. We strive through our relationships to elicit the best in the human spirit. With faith in human goodness, we appreciate each person's unique capacities. We joyfully celebrate together and support each other through life. We nurture a sense of reverence and responsibility for each other and the earth. We invite you to join our community of children and adults as we work for a world where love and justice cross all borders.
Laura? Wait, as Laura lights our community candle, I invite everyone to join in our candle lighting words. May we kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the light of understanding, and the fire of commitment to build a brighter future for all. Let us now enter into the centering time of our platform. Each week we ring this chime in solidarity with people around the world. Today I am particularly mindful of women around the United States, particularly in Texas and Mississippi, and around the world who are being forced to carry pregnancies they do not want by tyrants whose only concern is control. As we listen to the chime, let us remember our connection to each other and the world around us. Let us open our hearts to compassion for those who suffer. And let us commit ourselves to the work that calls for our love. Today's meditation comes from UCC Minister Reverend Terry Williams, a faith organizer with Faith Choice, Ohio, and a pastor at the Orchard Hill United Church of Christ. Lighting things on fire is an integral part of many religious rituals. Across many spiritual and faith traditions, the physical act of lighting a candle or kindling a lamp is essential to representing sacred truths and healing rites. Candles are lit to remember those who have died, to represent prayers offered in public, and to symbolize the presence of God spreading throughout a space. Oil lamps are kindled in memory of miracles past and futures filled with hope, recalling a connection between the present and the ageless bookends of time. No matter what you have for oil lamps or candles in your religious or spiritual life, I want you to think for a moment about these physical lights as metaphors for something larger. Lights that represent the relational, interconnected existence we share as people on this planet. Think about the last time you lit a lamp or candle. Imagine that last time as if it were happening in front of you again right now. Envision that flame was given to a wick in front of you. The last moment you saw fire leap from one place to another, embracing a fresh wick, birthing a new light. As that light grew, it came at a cost. The new flame licked up fuel from its new home. Wax or oil pulled slowly but steadily up into the flame, and in a glorious flash was consumed in the heart of the fire. As that burning took place, quietly and without much fanfare, preparation gave way to brilliance, and light was sustained by the fuel at hand. If that wick is trimmed and able to burn, if there's enough energy in that wax or oil stored up at once, the flame keeps on burning, lighting your world. We are the fuel, the wick and the light as well, but particularly the fuel. Without the fuel, nothing in the system runs. Nothing burns without the steady preparation of the fuel. We are the fuel, carefully stored up and prepared for lightless days and cold, thankless nights. We are the fuel, waiting for the fire that is coming, and hoping we will be enough. We continue our meditation in silence and in the music that follows. Today's reading is an excerpt from the Seneca Falls Declaration, written primarily, but not only, by Elizabeth Cady Stanton in 1848. Stanton and her co-conspirator of nearly 50 years, Susan B. Anthony, would go on to be major figures in the organized fight for women's liberation for the remainder of the 19th century. But the Seneca Falls Conference was one that was arranged in 3 days' notice. Weird how things that happen fast are still important. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one portion of the family of man to assume among the people of the earth a position different from that which they have hitherto occupied, but one to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes that impel them to such a course. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of those who suffer from it to refuse allegiance to it, and to insist upon the institution of a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. What when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism? It is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their security. Such has been the patient sufferance of the women under this government, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to demand the equal station to which they are entitled. Our platform speaker today is our senior leader, Casey Slack.
Thank you, Adam. Hi. It's been a minute. What is liberation? It's a hard question to answer in the context of our society, right? We liberate countries as an occupying force. Interesting. We are liberated from what? And for where? And why and how? Which thing is liberation? It's nice to talk about liberation as a concept. It's nice to talk about liberty as a concept. We don't often go much further than to say the word, knowing that the word is meant to be something good that we believe in. And if we don't ask too many questions, we don't have to get too out of sorts about it. Take a moment with yourself to imagine what it would mean to be liberated. Do you imagine yourself? Sort of asked that question in a tricky way. I asked it of you, and of course you are likely to imagine your own experience of liberation, but I don't believe liberation is something you can have on your own. We use liberation and freedom as interchangeable words, but they are not necessarily interchangeable. A person, an individual, can be relatively free, but only populations can be liberated. Only everybody can experience liberation, because if you do it on your own, that isn't liberation. Liberation is freedom, but not individual. Freedom not just for me or for you, but for everybody. Liberation is an ever-favorite object of my heart because it is not a freedom that makes you lonely. It is a freedom that makes you whole, that reminds you that you were always whole, and so was everybody else. That gives you the opportunity to really make love and justice cross all borders. Liberation is freedom, but not freedom as in freedom to just do whatever you want, but being meaningfully bound up in everybody else. Knowing that the pain that happens to your neighbor happens to you, and so does the pain that happens to the stranger on the other side of the planet. and the pain that happens to the bees and the whales and the plants. Liberation requires you to understand yourself as part of something. If you are some flavors of Buddhist or Hindu, liberation might personally mean release from cycles of birth and death. If you are some sorts of Christian, liberation might mean freedom from hell, freedom from death. But if you, like me, like us, are concerned with what is happening here and now, the things that we can see, observe, feel, and have some proof of. Liberation is about freedom from systems of oppression. Liberation means recognizing that sometimes we participate in systems that we don't identify with. Sometimes we participate in systems that oppress ourselves. Let me take a little turn here, and we'll get back to this conversation about what liberation is. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was supremely concerned with liberation. And by liberation, I mean really, truly for everyone. When you read past the quotes that everybody knows, you see a commitment not just to who you could readily identify as his people, just to say Black American Christians, but for everybody. Dr. King writes about how it is not just the case that he needs white people to help Black people have better lives, but that white people deserve liberation from the soul-crushing experience of white supremacy. Because anything that says that you are naturally better than others squishes you, forces you into a smaller space as you force others into smaller space as well. He had concern for people around the globe, and in his last speech, a speech in support of striking sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, given on April 3rd, 1968, the day before he was assassinated. He spoke of having been to the mountaintop. This metaphor in Christian and some Jewish traditions is of going to the mountaintop and seeing the promised land. Like Moses having walked people through the desert, getting to the top of a mountain and seeing where those people would go. Dr. King knew even then that he might not make it there with them. But he had seen from the top of the mountaintop. He had been there and seen the promised land, a promised land which he often referred to as beloved community. Not a promised land, some fluffy clouds in heaven, not a promised land, the exact things that had been, but with everybody included. A promised land, someplace completely else. Have any of you ever been to the mountaintop? Let's call this literal and metaphoric. Have you ever been on a mountaintop? Let's start there. Okay. It's quite an experience, right? To look out and see the vastness of what can be. To see different things growing and maybe a river flowing through this and that. You have some perspective from the mountaintop that is harder to have up close. What about metaphorically? Any of you metaphorically been to the mountaintop? Had even a flash of a moment of seeing community as it could be? I have. At its very best, that's what we do here is give ourselves little flashes of what's possible. Little moments where we know beyond the day-to-day grind of this difficult world we're living in, what is possible when we look at each other and choose to see full people, when we choose to make each other's concerns our care. In that speech, Dr. King recounts the tale of the Good Samaritan, a tale made pretty flat by most modern American tellings of it. It is not just about being a good person and helping someone, though it is about that, right? The Samaritan was a hated person, right? We're on a difficult road, and Dr. King talks in this speech about the specific difficulty of the Jericho Road, recounts a story of he and Coretta driving on the Jericho Road and feeling very scared. It's a dangerous road in a car and equally dangerous on foot or donkey. And the question wasn't just, do I help someone? But do I help a hated someone? Do I help the outcast of my society? Do I help someone who my social standing might be hurt by my choice to help? Dr. King said, the question is not if I stop to help this person in need, what will happen to me? If I do not, he says, the question is, if I do not stop to help the sanitation workers, what will happen to them? That is the question. And that is our question most every day. Not what will happen to me if I choose to help, but what will happen to those in need of my help if I do not. Dr. King dealt with the difficulty of choosing when to speak up throughout his career. You find at the beginning a sort of narrowness of focus around civil rights, which was important and poignant for the moment, but as his career goes on, it becomes clear that he cannot hold his concerns to just one issue. That in fact, his understanding of liberation, of freedom, of truth, of goodness, is so intertwined with everyone that he cannot stop himself from speaking for the downtrodden around the world. In April of 1967, he broke his own silence on the subject of the Vietnam War, speaking at the Riverside Church in New York City in a piece titled Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence. I'm going to read some passages of that relatively at length and offer some commentary in between. Somehow, this madness must cease. We must stop now. I speak as a child of God and brother to the suffering poor of Vietnam. I speak for those whose land is being laid waste, whose homes are being destroyed, whose culture is being subverted. I speak for the poor of America, who are paying the double price of smashed hopes at home and death and corruption in Vietnam. I speak as a citizen of the world, for the world as it stands aghast at the path we have taken. I speak as one who loves America, to the leaders of our own nation. The great initiative in this war is ours. The initiative to stop it must be ours. I've returned to this passage repeatedly in the past several months. Not knowing myself how to speak about, many things, not none of which are bombs which my tax dollars paid for, falling on the people of Palestine, not none of which are guns that my tax dollars paid for being turned back on the citizens of Israel, not none of which are all of the people who are broken by war wherever it happens, whenever it happens. I find myself wishing for the ability to be heard clearly. Dr. King, in this piece, talks about how he is not speaking to the leadership in Vietnam. He is not speaking to anybody but the American people and government. If one says, as I have just said, that they disagree with their tax dollars being spent on bombs dropped by a country that is not mine, on a country that has been subjected for decades, often the response is, are you saying the same thing to Hamas? One, I would, were they interested in listening to me. They are not. My government should be. Two, my tax dollars are less paying for the things that Hamas does, which are atrocious, than they are the things that Israel does, which are atrocious. Three, my greatest hope these days is that we would cause world leaders to enact their wars as fistfights simply between the two of them. Leave the rest of us out of it. If you must do violence, do it with your own hands. Literally. My heart is broken every day. I don't pretend to know everything that Dr. King went through in his terribly short time on this planet, but I read heartbreak in his work. I read the difficulty of living in a society so much like the one we live in. So the politics of it aside, I ask that we take a moment for the heartbreak. For that war is wrong always, even in the rare occasion when it is the only choice. For that people are broken, not irreparably, but deeply. People are broken by the deaths of their loved ones, the destruction of their homes, the destruction of their culture, and also by perpetrating that violence. Honor that moral injury, the thing that happens when you have to do things that are wrong. That moral injury is a real and serious pain held by people around the world today. Speaking about Vietnam, Dr. King suggests that what we need is a genuine revolution of values. A genuine revolution of values, he says, means in the final analysis that our loyalties must become ecumenical rather than sectional. I wouldn't go with ecumenical, personally. Ecumenical is a Christian term for between various denominations. Now, ecumenical, we got to get past ecumenical and into something truly, genuinely interfaith, multi-religious, something where there is as much space for the atheist, for the humanist, for the witch, as there is for the Christian, the Jew, the Buddhist, where we are making sure that there is space for everyone, regardless of doctrine or lack thereof. But yes, that rather than sectional. For everybody rather than for my people, though my care for my people remains great. He says, every nation must now develop an overriding loyalty to mankind as a whole in order to preserve the best in their individual societies. This call for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concern beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation is in reality a call for an all-embracing and unconditional love for mankind. This oft misunderstood, this oft misrepresented concept, so readily dismissed as weak and cowardly, has now become an absolute necessity for our survival. He says, when I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am not speaking of that force which is just emotional bosh. I am speaking of the force which all of the great religions have seen as a supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality. I grew up in a world where religion was mostly violent. It was violent to me, it was violent to the people around me, it was given violently, as in I was tricked into going to a lock-in at a Pentecostal church, and then in the middle of the night, they had this fire and brimstone service where the youth pastor got up and asked us things like, if the world ended tonight, would you ever see your parents again? I was 13. I cried. And upon seeing that I was crying, the minister approached me and said, I see you are having these terrible feelings. I can fix that. Would you like to be saved? In that moment, I said yes, because I was 13 and I was terrified and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't make decisions about your soul at 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't make decisions about anything at 1 o'clock in the morning. Go to bed. I got saved, which felt weird, and I went to talk to my friends, and one of my friends' friends said, oh, I can't wait until you start speaking in tongues. And I said, oh no, I am in too deep here. I called my father, and then he took me home. He came and he banged on the locked doors of the church, and he raised a Jehovah's Witness. A man I have fought with my entire life, loved me more than he loved his pride, loved me more than he loved his sleep, loved me more than he loved not getting into a fight. Who am I kidding? He loved getting into a fight too. He came and he got me. And that choice of love is more profoundly religious, of a thing that if I felt like it, I could call God, but more profoundly that thing that is the highest than anything that happened in that church that night. The decision to show up for people when they are in scary situations, to be a parent who your kids know they can call if they're drunk or if they're being coercively saved or anywhere in between. Get up to a lot of stuff as a teenager, I don't know. That thing is much more the love that Dr. King speaks of than the love many Christians purport to have, which says, if I love you, I must make you like me. If I love you, and I do, as it happens, love you. If I love you, what I need for you, what I want for you, is for you to have the opportunity to be you as much as possible. For you to get to tell me and the rest of the world what you know is true in your body. What love speaks to you. If I love you, I'm not going to not tell you when you're doing something that hurts people. But I'm also not going to tell you that there is something fundamentally wrong with you for simply existing as a person, right? If I love you, the things that you are, those are pretty much okay. If I love you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your gender is or your age. It doesn't matter what your race is or what other religions you associate with. But what matters is how you behave. What matters is what you choose to do to the people around you. It is not your fault if you are broken. Most of us are. We live in a world that will break us. Partially because being a human is kind of a fragile thing. Even without systemic oppression, we would all get broken sometimes. Because death is real, and death hurts for the people who are still alive, if nothing else. But as it stands, if you are broken, if there is something in you that hurts, that causes you to lash out sometimes, or get anxious in a way that causes some trouble, or if sometimes you say something you don't quite mean, because something bubbles up in you and you are in the moment, so caught in your feelings that you can't stop. It's okay. That's not the end of who you are. But if you choose to double down on that behavior when somebody says, hey, ouch, that's not okay. And if you decide that what you need is power, and you're gonna get it however you wanna get it, that is also not okay. If you decide that how you wanna behave is to belittle other people, nope, we're not doing that here. And if you decide that because you have a certain amount of social, political, monetary power in the rest of the world, friends, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care how much power you have in the rest of the world. I barely care how much power I have in the rest of the world. I barely care how much power I have right here. I know about it. I tend to it. I try to use it well. But if you are here, you're here to be equals. You're here to stand next to each other and care for each person as a whole person. You're here to care for the person next to you in these seats as much as you are here to care for the people of Palestine. As much as you are to care for the entirely too many homeless people in our city and in the rest of our country and around the world. You are here to care for the hungry and the downtrodden, the people who cannot access fundamental rights to control over their own body. Dr. King continues, this Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist belief about ultimate reality is beautifully summed up in the first epistle of St. John. Let us love one another, for love is God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. Let us hope that this spirit will become the order of the day. Now, I just said God a number of times that is uncomfortable for me, and I am rather more comfortable with that word than I know many of you are. So let's wind that back and look at that passage with a little bit of translation. So, when I use the word God, which I mostly do when I am among people who believe in God, because it's easier to translate in my head than to teach them how to translate. When I use that word, I think of it as ultimate concern, or the universe sometimes, or the thing that is bigger than everything. I do not think of a deity. I do not believe and never have believed in any deities. I do not think specifically of an old white man on a cloud. And I would imagine that St. John didn't either. That concept of God is a little new. But if we rewind this, let us love one another, for love is the ultimate concern. And everyone that loves is born of the universe and knows the universe. They that do not love do not know themselves. For everything is love. If we love one another, then the highest dwells in us. And the spirit of all creation is perfected in us. Let us hope that this spirit will become the order of the day. Dr. King continues, we can no longer afford to worship the God of hate or bow before the altar of retaliation. I struggle. Not with hate, but retaliation. Retaliation is so tempting. It is so tempting to say, you hit me, and so I'm going to blow you up. Right? We used to somewhat think of something called a proportional response, and I am still not sure what exactly a proportional response is, but I don't know that anybody knows what one is anymore or even thinks about it. It is tempting when somebody hurts you to hurt them worse. It is tempting if you think somebody is going to hurt you to hurt them first. That is not what is best in us. That is not who we could be. It is not who we ought to be. I have so much more quotation. I'm going to just encourage you to read Dr. King's speeches, both the one with the sanitation workers, which is called I've Been to the Mountaintop, and the one on Vietnam. They both speak to a moment which we are experiencing in a different way, the rhyme of, right? History may not repeat, but it does in fact rhyme, and we are here rhyming with the early 1930s and also with the 1960s, and too much rhyme. I want you to take a second again to imagine liberation. Imagine what it is like for love and justice to cross all borders. Imagine freedom that is not personal, but collective. A type of all-consuming freedom that means that you get to grow and bloom into whatever flower you are. And so does the person next to you, without your garden having to be so perfectly manicured that none of you is a weed. Dr. King said, "We are now faced with the fact, my friends, that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is still the thief of time. Life often leaves us standing bare, naked and dejected with a lost opportunity. The tide in the affairs of humans does not remain at flood, it ebbs. We may cry out desperately for time to pause in her passage, but time is adamant to every plea and rushes on. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residues of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, too late. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. It is possible to be too late, but it is never the wrong time to start. It is never the wrong time to start again or to continue. It is never the wrong time to commit to something else. To take that vision of freedom and choose to make it something real. There are no acts that are too small. There is no kindness that is insignificant. Each choice you make to see someone as a full person, to honor those ostracized by our society in as little as eye contact, right? You will drive around this city or your neighborhoods, and you will sometimes see, and I say sometimes as if this isn't an always occurrence, someone with a sign. They are homeless, they are hungry, they are in need of help. Often they are people of color. Often, though less visibly, they are queer or transgender people. Often they are people deeply wounded by the American war machine. They are people thrown out of our society. And though it is not all that you can do, the simple act of eye contact, a friendly hello, a reminder that you see a person there, that matters. That helps. If it comes with $20, it helps more. If it comes with your engagement in care for poor people in your neighborhood, that helps even more. If it comes with a commitment, a deep, in your heart, in your body, commitment to living in ways that mean we no longer throw people to the side, well, that's even better yet. It is possible to be too late, but it is never the wrong time to do the right thing. It is never the wrong time to keep doing the right thing. It is never the wrong time to show up and let yourself be changed by the presence of other people. Dr. King says, now let us begin. Let us rededicate ourselves to the long and bitter but beautiful struggle for a new world. Now let us begin. Let us dedicate ourselves to the long and difficult but beautiful struggle for a new world. May it be so.
So while the choir gets ready for our musical response, just a note, folks on the chat notice that I am speaking a little bit hoarsely. It's because I'm having a mild asthma flare-up. So if I sound hoarse, it's because my lungs have been attacking me for the last few days. It's okay, there's drugs for that. In a few minutes, thank you, Casey, for a great platform. In a few minutes, we will have our community sharing time, when you can write into the chat or share in person about what resonated with you in this platform. While we listen to today's musical response, you might prepare by reflecting on a personal experience or an activity at WES that the platform brings to mind.
I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
This is the time when we add our own voices to the morning, sharing our reflections on the platform or what resonates with our personal experiences. For our online participants, I invite you to share in the Zoom chat or in the comments if you are watching the recording later. If you are here in person, you can come to the microphone on the floor and share your brief comments so that others may share. Let's start by checking to see what online participants have written in the Zoom comments. Sue Jacobson says, "Good morning, everybody. Casey, thank you so much for another powerful platform. WES needs to act as MLK would have wanted us to and actively oppose the war in Gaza and U.S. support of that war." Trish Wheel says, "Thank you, Casey. We must continue to talk about how to love." And chorus, "We hear you sound better now. Thank you for I Have a Dream." That's it for online right now. Let's go to the floor mic.
Julie, she, her. I have a sort of flip side to how will this affect me to help, which is how will this affect me to not help? And so when I am thinking about just even mundane things, but how this will, this is such a pain, do I have to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I think about what will it do to me to not do it, right? What kind of person will I be? And so that I've always gotten from that story of the Good Samaritan that that's what it was for him. What would I be to walk on by? And so while we do, of course, have to think of what's going to happen to them, but by letting things happen to them, what do we become? So.
Good morning. My name is Julie, she, her. Thank you, Casey. That was riveting and spiritually challenging, and that's what I come here for. I disagree with you on some things, and I want to share that with respect. I do believe that liberation is individual. There is a song that the chorus used to sing that goes, "Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won." And that is about individuals fighting for themselves and for the larger community that they identify with. And so in terms of individual liberation that hopefully leads to universal liberation, I think we have so many examples to turn to. Individual migrants getting asylum, individual women getting access to abortion without apology, women escaping intimate partner violence, individuals escaping and leaving toxic relationships and workplaces, and people rising up to disempower oppressive systems is an example of individual people making a decision to participate in a larger movement that does not include everybody. So they are fighting on behalf of people who may not agree with their cause, which is something that we experience here in the United States. Individual unhoused people getting homes, drug and alcohol dependents conquering their addiction, freedom from gender at birth, to name your own gender. And on a much lighter note, which I am about to recognize and experience, having an empty nest with no longer having dependent kids in the house, which is imminent. But I also have to disagree with you about war is never right. It's what I always believed, and I wear peace signs proudly, but there are certain wars to which I absolutely disagree. We've been lied to. They're dangerous. They're unwinnable in most cases, but they are winnable. The civil rights, the Civil War to end slavery, Nikki Haley, was actually won and appropriate. The Ukrainian battle against Russians is appropriate, and hopefully they will win. The Second World War to liberate Jews and Roma and gays and communists from Germany's Nazi liberation camps was a just war. fighting the Japanese, who were tremendously oppressive, particularly to Korean women, comfort women who were, teenagers raped over and over again. That was definitely a just cause and worth arming people and sending people and people signing up to go to make right and to fight for justice in this world. So I am no longer a conscientious objector to war.
Judy, she, her. And once again, thank you, Casey. This morning, I feel like I want to say, you got a hell of a lot of nerve poking a sharp stick, not necessarily a sharp stick. You allowed or required me to break open a piece of humanity that's you requested that we feel the real, I no longer remember the words, but that we really open ourselves to feeling deeply the pain of other people in pain, and being the empath that I am, that really sort of burst me open. And thanks, but no thanks. I mean, but but thank you, because we spend a lot of time in our society tamping that down and closing it up and holding it so tightly closed. And so, thank you.
Hello, I'm Stan Horwitz. Pronouns are he and him, and I'm from the Philadelphia Ethical Society, and I also am on the AAU board and the Philadelphia Ethical Society's board. I'll say that again, sorry. I'm Stan Horwitz, and my pronouns are he and him, and I'm from the Philadelphia Ethical Society on that board and also on the AAU board. As you can gather from my shirt, I don't know if you can see that on the Zoom, I was here in town for the Free Palestine march that was yesterday. And I want to thank Casey. Your platform couldn't have been more appropriate. Thank you so much. And as a Jew, I believe, and it's a core tenet of Judaism, that it's best, that it's really imperative that everyone treat people like we would want to be treated. That's not happening enough now. So thank you, and also thank you to the wonderful choir, beautiful.
Thank you to everyone who spoke from the floor. Let's see if there's any more comments have come in from Zoom, and there haven't been. So thank you to all who shared their thoughts and attention. Excuse me. Just as we share our perspectives in this community, so too do we share our resources and gifts. Here at WES, we split all undesignated gifts in the Sunday collection between our operating budget and a fund dedicated to justice and compassion. During the month of January, we are pleased to support Sister Song. Sister Song is a Southern-based organization dedicated to building an effective network of individuals and organizations to improve policies and systems that impact the reproductive lives of marginalized communities. You can learn more about this vital work at sistersong.net and in the video they have produced called Visioning New Futures for Reproductive Justice. Let's all take a moment to prepare to the invitation to generosity as we are able. To donate online through the Simple Give system, text an amount to 202-335-1885. Go to tiny.cc/WESgives or click on Give on our website, ethicalsociety.org. To donate in person today, just place cash or check in the basket at the back of the hall on your way out. And you can always send a check by mail. Thank you for generosity. Thank you for your generosity. We will now receive your gifts and the gift of music.
We who believe in freedom shall not rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mother sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mother sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young to dare to run against the storm. And these young people come first. They have the courage where we fail. And if I can but shed some light as they carry us through the gale. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. Sometimes I can be quite difficult. I'll bow to no man's word. Struggling myself don't mean a whole lot. I've come to realize that teaching others to stand and fight is the only way our struggle survives. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. That which touches me most is that I had a chance to work with people, passing on to others that which was passed on to me. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be one in the number as we stand against tyranny. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
Thank you so much to the many people who helped to create this morning's time together. Today's platform speaker, KC, and the WES Chorus and Band. Staff members Indara Miles, Robin Kravitz, and Maceo Thomas, And of course, our platform production volunteers, the tech team members, slide artists, Zoom chat ushers, and in-person greeters. I want to mention a few things coming up in the life of our community. The next Wednesday at WES is on January 17th, this coming Wednesday. Things will kick off with spaghetti and salad dinner at 5:30, followed by a roundtable discussion of reproductive justice. There will be a meeting of the WES Writing Group at 7, a financial literacy class for kids and youth at 7:15, and the WES Chorus rehearsal at 7:30. Next Sunday, Dana Pope will be leading a workshop on fat liberation in you. No one deserves to be oppressed because of their body. In this workshop, we will go deeper following a platform on the same topic. There will be discussions in small groups based on people's experiences of systemic fat oppression. The small groups are known as caucusing. We will follow with a large group discussion, including what we can do going forward. Please sign up on Sign Up Genius or through the Facebook event. Finally, later this month, the WES CRC Community Relations Community is teaming up with the Lifelong Learning Team to continue their series about confronting harmful power structures that disconnect people and can show up in ourselves, our community, and our society. On January 28th, right after Sunday morning platform, please join us for a discussion about quantity over quality mindsets. I'll turn things over to Christine Parcelli to give us the January board update.
Hi, I'm Christine, and it's my turn to do the monthly Board of Trustees update. We're currently working on Strategy Saturday, which will be next Saturday, and that annual meeting is a series of Zoom and in-person meetings when Casey, the board, and representatives from each group or committee at WES meet to plan and set intentions for the coming year. My role on the board is treasurer, which means I do some specific oversight regarding our financials. As you know, we've had a rough time with our bookkeeping and reporting due to personnel changes, our own and also at Belay, our accounting service, and because our software company is struggling and we're not receiving updates or support we need. We hope to change to QuickBooks very soon, but must catch up first. We're making slow but steady progress with catching up and now have financial reports for last year, which you can find online with the board minutes. We expect member tax statements to go out on time this month, and because there were some errors in categorizing donations, we ask that you take a careful look at those and let Robin know if there appear to be some categorizing problems. On the positive side, we brought in over $22,000 with the auction, which yes, that exceeded what we had budgeted. And if you haven't paid your auction tab yet, please do so as soon as possible. The board is working with Casey and Robin to set priorities for catching up, and we hope to put all our difficulties behind us by March. Thank you.
Okay. I, in fact, had sent a message to Laura going, wait, that's next Saturday? I'm not ready. So the Strategy Saturday will not be this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday on the 27th of January. The 27th of January, not the 20th. That's good, because I'm supposed to be there too, and I was very confused. So, may that be a lesson for next week's Efficient to make sure that gets into the announcements, because I completely forgot about putting it in last night. Speaking of which, that's it for announcements for today. As always, you can find information about opportunities to connect in the weekly news and notes email and on the calendar page of WES's website, ethicalsociety.org. Again, if you are new to our community, please introduce yourself in person or via the connection form at tiny.cc/WesConnects, or an email to wes@ethicalsociety.org. At the conclusion of the platform today, please join us for social hour, either here or on Zoom at tiny.cc/Wes Coffee Hour. I now invite you to join in our closing sing-along music and the closing words.
DC Labor Chorus sang this last week. They are the proverbial tough act to follow. But by now you all know it, so you're going to sing along with us.
I woke up this morning with my mom.
Intro.
And now for our closing words. Let us go into the week ahead with compassion, understanding, and commitment, seeking liberation for all, from the margins to the center. Thank you all for joining today's platform in person or remotely. We look forward to connecting again with you soon.